I'm Alex Olshevsky. I'm in the ECE department. One of the things I do is I teach an undergraduate course in machine learning called reinforcement learning, where you teach these little things to learn from trial and error. We start from something very easy, like learning from play Pac-Man, and their final project in the class is more along the lines of self-driving cars, except they do it in this little Mario Kart game. Now, as you can see, it's not perfect. The really interesting thing is that this is a very math-heavy class. And every semester I ask the students, well, how do you like the class? Is it easy, hard? How does it compare to other classes that you're taking? And for the last few years, I've been getting answers like, oh, it's really hard. This is like the hardest class I've ever taken. It's so much math. I never knew I'd have to do so much math. Last year I asked them and they're like, well, it's not so bad. It would be hard, except for my friend ChatGPT. Is the answer I heard from surprisingly many of them. And I thought, okay, maybe you're using ChatGPT for help on your homework. Let's see what happens on the exam, which you have to take in class. Well, surprise, exam scores increased essentially one standard deviation up. Now, this surprised me, and kind of coincidentally with this, we had a committee for AI and engineering where we decided to kind of benchmark some of these models on our classes. So, for a long time, we've kind of known that, okay, you have these language models, you ask a math question, response comes back, it's kind of okay. Like, it's not usually 100% correct. It has some kind of surface level plausibility. And yet these things are evolving. So we tested it on a whole bunch of models. This data is actually outdated because it's basically November data, and now it's February, so it's like ancient history. But in November, just a few models that we tested were the standard model, paid model of ChatGPT, some competitors like an open source model called Llama, as well as what was then a new model called O1 Preview. And all of this more or less matched our intuition. We gave them homeworks on a few classes. We graded the homeworks. The results were like, yeah, okay, you got credit for this, not for that one, until O1 Preview, which basically got 100% on, essentially, on more or less every single assignment we gave it, right? So, that was qualitatively different. It felt like the world we lived on in August 2024 was very different than the world we lived in November 24, with the release of AI being, with the release of O1 Preview being sort of the key factor. Now, this is February, so a number of things have happened. So if you log into sort of your standard OpenAI interface, it's going to give you a choice of various models. And there's some basic models which you pay $20 a month for, which is now there's a better version called O1. And it's more or less, I would say, comparable to an advanced undergraduate. So on almost every single example I've given it of undergraduate, real actual assignments that we give in our classes, it basically gets 100%. Now there's more expensive models. There's O3 Mini, for which you actually have to pay substantially more. You pay $200 a month. But actually, O3 Mini not only aces all the graduate course homeworks I've given, it is definitely competitive with my own graduate students. A few times I've had graduate students come to me after a couple of weeks of work. I give the same question to O3 Mini. The answers are at least comparable. So it's very much of a fast evolving area that makes things like in-class assessments very challenging. But of course, it's an opportunity, right? Because now you have essentially unlimited and very accurate tutoring for the students. So the various issues that plague these models, like hallucinations, for example, are vastly decreasing even month after month. So that if you haven't tried the latest models at the latest time, you might have a slightly incorrect sense of how good they are. I do want to highlight the equity issues around this. So we do have this very uncomfortable situation now where if you pay $200 a month, you get really, really good tutoring for your classes. Whereas if you pay $20 a month, you get good but not great tutoring. Equity is always an issue, and there's always issues of students with different financial resources, but arguably the issue is much more stark now than it has been. Maybe it's something we can address through this center. Thank you.